I must tell you, the tone of the entire meetings, I guess it was a total of 4 hours, was good, positive. There wasn't any strident action taken.
President Biden and Russian President Putin holding an historic summit. We were there watching it on Squawk as they were getting to the beginning of that meeting. And Eamon Javers joins us right now from Geneva with some of the key takeaways on the other side. Eamon.
You know, Andrew, Joe Biden said it was important to come here and deal face-to-face with Vladimir Putin. He said there's no substitute for those face-to-face meetings. The takeaways here, though, were few in terms of concrete accomplishments. The one thing that they did agree to was to exchange ambassadors again. Remember, those ambassadors had been withdrawn amid the recent tensions, so that is a positive takeaway. They agreed to continue talking on nukes and on cybersecurity, so there's an ongoing dialogue there, no resolution here in Geneva. But there was this really intriguing moment yesterday in which Joe Biden said he hadn't issued any threats to Vladimir Putin on the cybersecurity front, but then he laid out a very detailed scenario about what might happen if the United States decided to embrace its robust cybersecurity capabilities and respond in kind. Here's what he said.
What happens if that ransomware outfit were sitting in Florida or Maine and took action, as I said, on their single lifeline to their economy, oil? It'd be devastating. And they're like, you could see them kind of go, oh, we'd do that, but like, whoa.
So that's Biden saying he didn't issue any threats, but it's sort of like saying, you know, that's an awfully nice pipeline you have there. It'd be a shame if anything happened to it. So clearly Biden suggesting that he laid down the law behind the scenes to Vladimir Putin, trying not to embarrass or humiliate him on the world stage. In fact, treating him like a peer very much on the world stage. Biden says he issued 16 specific areas in terms of cybersecurity and U.S. critical infrastructure that are off limits. And he laid down very specific terms of what would happen if Russian attackers hit those. So that's sort of where the cybersecurity debate stands. For his part, Vladimir Putin said that this was, in fact, a productive meeting.
We don't share the same positions in many areas, but I think that both of these sides showed a willingness to understand one another and to find ways to bring our positions closer together. The talks were quite constructive.
And a fascinating moment at the end, a flash of anger from Joe Biden and reporter Caitlin Collins of CNN, who asked him how he could be sure, how he could be convinced that Vladimir Putin was going to change his ways in the wake of this. And Biden turned around, snapped back very aggressively and said, look, I'm not convinced of anything. Why would you say I said that? He's saying, we're going to see over time what Vladimir Putin does here. I'm not convinced necessarily that this one meeting is going to change anything. That flash of anger, I think, shows that Biden is very sensitive to the idea that he's been snowed under in any way or he's naive in any way about Vladimir Putin and his intentions. So this is very much a first step here in Geneva. And Biden says the proof is in the pudding, and we'll see where it goes from here. Guys.
Eamon, I was going to ask, I remember yesterday we talked about this idea of a potentially dueling press conferences. In fact, the press conferences didn't seem to be dueling at all for the most part. They seemed to be almost collegial in terms of how they were describing each other. I'm curious how the Russian press is playing this morning, because sometimes you start to get the differences and distinctions from these meetings coming out in other ways.
Well, you know, you saw the Russian press in the press conference with Vladimir Putin yesterday asking him these very different questions from what the American press was asking. The Russian press was asking about Russia's position on the world stage and in very flattering terms to Vladimir Putin. And then you saw the American reporters asking him, you know, what is he so afraid of in terms of Alexei Navalny and free and fair elections in Russia. So just the difference in approach between the Russian and American media is entirely different. And of course, Putin, as you know, has kind of stamped out any sort of independent press in Russia over the decades. There's a few maybe independent reporters remaining there, but for the most part, their press is largely muzzled. And so you get these entirely different approaches. And then you get on the other side, you get the American press, a wide-ranging American press corps traveling with the president, including a number of networks that are critics of Joe Biden, or at least one in particular that's a critic of Joe Biden traveling with him this week. So just a different approach entirely from the two different press corps, Andrew.
Shepard Smith here. Thanks for watching CNBC on YouTube.